of about this topic that are you really running a business or are you just playing at business? And I know I see it all the time. You see it all the time. People who say they're running a business, but they're not really running it yet. They
Right.
might think they're running a business or trying to run a business, but they're not really quite getting it right in the beginning. So let's talk about some of the signs that you might be more in our eyes playing at running a business as opposed to actually running a business. So I had talking more than you're actually doing.
And that's such a big one I see happening all the time. And I hear, and you know the signs where I'm going to do this next year. I'm going to start doing this. I'm working on this. And then you check in with them 6 months later and they're still going to next month, next year, next whatever. And they've actually not taken any steps. They've just talked a lot about what they want to do without diving in and just doing it.
Yeah, I talk to people all the time. Is like, I have a great business idea. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm writing a business plan. And I think you said earlier before we went live, I'm doing my business cards and I'm doing this and that. I'm like, but have you gone out and actually gotten any clients yet? Have you tested the market? Have you talked to people? Have you done anything? Or are you just watching what everyone else is doing and thinking and talking and not actually doing?
And I have worked with clients who have literally, and I'm not exaggerating, I call this procrastinating. You hear me say that all the time, but literally spending 2 months on trying to come up with the perfect logo themselves rather than just hire that out, pay the whatever, get a logo, don't stress it. It really, you're not going to be Coke level branding in the beginning. Coke wasn't Coke level branding when they started, but they'll spend 2 months trying to perfect a logo before they go to a networking event that will actually bring in leads, before they talk to a potential customer, before they say, hey, I'm doing this, who's interested? Before they even tell anyone, including their spouse, that they're launching a business, they'll spend months on a logo. And the
Yes.
logo doesn't matter. It's you that matters. Like you are your branding.
Yeah, and you can actually run a business without a business card. I'm not saying I suggest it, but you can run a business without a business card, without a website, without a Facebook business page. You can
Without a
actually,
logo.
right, without a logo. But that's how you're keeping yourself stuck in the minutia so that you don't actually have to do the work that scares you, which is the marketing, the networking, the connecting, and the actual doing of the job, right? And you actually brought something up, trying to do the logo themselves for months or years and never quite being happy with it. That's another sign that you're playing at running a business. It kind of is fun to do the logo part, but never getting it right enough to feel like it can be seen is keeping you from actually running a business. And I actually have it on my list, trying to do everything on the cheap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, when you're doing it that way, you are really not running a business the way a business needs to be run in the beginning. You're not saying do it on the expensive, but if you're trying to do everything yourself, when is this business going to get up and off the ground then?
Right. And the thing is you do have to invest some money to get started. You get to decide where you're going to invest the money. Maybe you're comfortable building a logo, back to that example, and you go to one of the free websites, create a logo and be like, good enough, let's move on.
Good
If you
enough.
can do that, then great. Save money on the logo, don't pay somebody. If you can put up a quick website and be like, good enough, they know how to contact me. Moving on, then great. But if you're spending hours and months, and I'm talking months and months and months, stuck in your little quiet office, just doing that, you're not ever going to have the money to pay anyone because you're not connecting with clients.
Oh my God, it's such a pet peeve of mine when people come to me and they go, um, they're on with me. I'm a business coach. What is your goal? I want to make more money. Okay, great. Right up my alley. That's what I love to help people do. Make more money so that you can
Yep.
pay for things to be done to the next level than when you first start out. However, when they say things to me like, but I really just want to be accessible to everyone.
You can't.
Like everyone deserves to have access to me as a designer, as a business coach, or as a web designer, as a social media marketer, whatever you are that I coach. And I go, really? Because if you're trying to be accessible to everyone, you're not going to make enough money to run a successful business. And it's more like you're playing at business, hoping that something hits miraculously, that someone appreciates you enough to give you extra money so you can afford to get your business to the next level, right?
Right.
So I have an example. I was just talking to a client this morning. She's lovely. She's so good at what she does, but she's been resistant of paying for something that could help her keep herself more organized. And it really pushed her on it last session. And I'm like, you need to do this. I know it's extra money, but you're going to make that extra money when you adjust your pricing model the way I'm telling you to. And she came on this session and she said, oh my God, that it's little south of $100 a month, which feels like a lot, but we basically are adjusting her pricing model to absorb that easily. And she's like, what a difference it made in my business. Like now she has time to do the other things that she's always saying, like she's never had time to do. This one little change, right? So you have to spend money to make money.
You do. And be smart about it. Like you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to go expensive. You don't have to go out right away and say, I have a business idea. I'm going to hire a high-end web designer and a high-end graphic designer and a high-end business coach. You don't have to do that.
You do not.
But you do have to invest some level of money. And as your business grows, you're able to invest more money that is going to help you make more money. And I have a good example of my own is that for a long time with my clients, I hand did everything, the contracts, the proposals, everyone was done from, I mean, I had templates, but it was built from scratch each and every time. Well, last, spring, I finally invested hundreds of dollars in the software that I have to continually pay for so that it can start doing that for me. And it was a little scary to invest those $100 because I run a very light financial business. Like I keep my expenses low and it was scary, but the amount of time that it has given me, where it used to take me 2 hours to onboard a new client, it now takes me maybe 10 minutes. And I'm not talking about the time, talking to them, but the time to get them the contract, to get them the documents that they need, to get them everything they need and questionnaires and all the stuff I need to get started. It takes me, and I'm being generous, 10 minutes is probably, if I'm like kicked back on my love seat or something, have a cup of coffee, like minutes.
And the key there is when you stop running your business as a hobby or playing in business, you quickly realize that time is money.
So is.
So the thing you've been resisting doing, right? I always say to somebody, you could take 5 years to get to where I'm going to be able to get you within a year. Is that worth it for you? I don't know, right? You want a calendar system where your clients can schedule their own 15-minute consults. Oh, but I don't want to pay the $100 a month, $50 a month. I'm not going to do it. What's the big deal? It's just a phone call, coordinating it with them. Oh, that actually can take a lot longer than you're thinking it's taking. If you really track how much brain space it's taking that you're not marketing yourself or you're not working on a client that's billable. Time is money, right? It's huge. So this whole, I want to be accessible to everyone. That usually means you're playing at business in my book. I am just redoing everything over and over again. It has to be perfect before I actually put it out into the world. And I can't get any business until my standard operating procedures are good and my website is good and my Facebook page is good and my Instagram looks good, right? All these obstacles you're putting in front of you is really just, sorry to say, but not sorry, not sorry, that you're still playing at business. You're not actually thinking of your business as a businessman or woman. And I'm in this to actually help enhance my life financially and get my talent out into the world and help people. Because that's what drives my enthusiasm and my energy and my ego, right?
Well, and I will say, I don't even know if I've ever really shared this here, but I played at being a web designer. I wasn't going to do web design. I knew I needed a shift in business. And I decided, because I could, one summer I took on a few clients who needed websites because I could, and it gave me some money and time to figure out what my next chapter was going to be as a life coach. And by the end of that summer, I knew that I wanted to do this, but I didn't have time to build a big fancy website for myself. I had a one-page website with a contact page, two-page website, tossed up this website. It wasn't fabulous. I'm a web designer. It wasn't fabulous, but it gave people the information of how to get started working with me and gave
Yes.
them a button to click to get in touch. And my website grew from there and my business grew from there. But I didn't start with something super big and fancy.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know that. I started with $300 in the basement of my home at the time when I became an art consultant. I went to Michael's and bought mats, bought a mat cutter, cut all the mats myself, cut them to fit into frames that I bought over the counter. They were terrible, but people bought them. They weren't that terrible. And
Right.
then I took the profit from every single one and reinvested it into new things that then, like a website, I created my own for free in the beginning, and then I paid for one. I made my own business cards at my printer at home. And
Yep.
then I had enough money to actually order them through Vistaprint. I was like, whoa, I felt like I was, big time. But
Yep.
here's the thing. I knew from the beginning my goal was to make money and to serve my clients. It was not just to have some fun while I was raising three kids.
Right.
It was helpful to have a side thing for for my brain, adult interaction, something I
Mhm.
felt good
Yep.
about, something I could control more than I could control what was going on at home. But I always knew that it was a business that I was starting, not a hobby that I was playing. And I still think there's a lot of people who don't have that distinction in their head. And it's okay to say, I just do this as a hobby and a side gig and I don't need the money. I just do it because I
Yeah,
enjoy it. That's okay too.
absolutely.
But be honest with yourself,
Right.
right? And then don't just talk about doing more if you don't plan on doing it. I change people's words all the time. Okay, I think I'll do that. And I'm like, wait, what did you just say? I think I think I'll do that. That means you're not going to do it,
Means you're not going to. Yeah.
right? So they go, okay, I'll do it. I'm like, okay, good. You're going to do it, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what you say to yourself is really the first step to switching this around.
Mhm.
Right? Acknowledging that maybe up till now, I really haven't taken my business seriously. I'm still playing at running a business. I'm not actually thinking of myself as a business person because I keep saying to myself, well, I'm just creative. I'm not really a business person. That stuff's hard for me. Yes, it is hard to run a business. It is a strain. My brain hurts sometimes when I'm trying to figure out what's my next step. What do people need from me? How can I provide it? How do I grow this thing?
Mhm.
Right? It's
Yeah.
hard,
It
but it's
yeah.
a decision to run a business.
And it's necessary to be that successful business, to pay attention to your numbers, to doing the stuff that we hate. Because I'm a very creative person too. And I don't want to have to be sucked into my numbers and sending in my state sales tax and all of this stuff. I mean, like, I hate it. It's miserable. But at the same time, it's running a business. And you do that stuff in the beginning, you do it well because that brings in the money. So then now, like, I have somebody who does a lot of those things for me, because I don't want to do them.
Right. You don't want to do it and you don't do it well. And in the beginning, you had to do it for yourself and you had to fight
Right.
through the resistance that your brain throws at you.
Yep.
But if you're actually running a business and not just playing at running a business, you know that your goal is eventually to get those roles covered by experts in
Yes.
those things and not by you. But in the beginning, sorry, you got to
Yeah.
suck it up.
Yeah. You've got to do the icky stuff to get to where you can have that business that you want. And that icky stuff, honestly, I think is so important because I understand the foundation of my business now. While I have people that do things, I know exactly what they're doing because I understand the foundation. I understand how it works. I understand where my cash flow is coming from and my expenses are going. I'm not, at the end of the year being like, oh my God, what happened?
It's so true. And I'll tell you that when I start my new groups, and I have a new group starting in January. So if anyone's interested, go to my website, top banner that Teresa put there for me to fill out an application. There's no obligation if you fill out an application, but you get to talk to me for 20 minutes to find out if you're a good fit for the group. But people always come into the group in the beginning and say things like, well, I've been listening to podcasts and they say I'm supposed to hire. Who do I hire first? I'm like, oh, hold on, let's slow down. Like, let's see if you actually charge properly first. And then second, let's see where your superpowers are and where you're really struggling. And guess what? Where you're struggling, I'm going to teach you what you need to know as the CEO and the owner of the business before you hire out. Otherwise, the next sentence I'm going to get is I hired that person. They took me for a ride. They took my money and I didn't get the result I expected. Well, what did you expect? Well, I expected this. Really? Because you've never done it yourself. So how do you know that's what it is, what you should have expected, right? There's certain things you have to learn at least the high level of so you can understand what the person you're hiring actually is doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So if you're running your business as a business, good for you. Keep it going. I know it's hard. It's hard for Teresa. It's hard for me sometimes. We struggle through painful moments of, what are we supposed to do next? How am I supposed to do that? I really don't want to do it. But if you're actually just like enjoying your life and running a hobby and playing at business, just be honest with yourself.
Right.
Don't torture yourself. Just go, you know what? I enjoy what I do. I don't make a lot of money doing it. And that's okay because I'm doing it for different reasons.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And it's like you said, I think that's really key is so many people want to have that extra outlet, that side gig or that, but they feel like they have to make it into this profitable business at the same time. You don't. It gets to be exactly what you want it to be. And I love that if you want it to be a hobby, let it be a hobby. If you want it to be a business, then dive in and start being a business.
yeah, and I think in the beginning as an art consultant, it was just a hobby for me. It was a wine and cheese party, home art parties. I never even went to home parties just so I could get out of the house in the beginning. And the day it switched for me to like, wait, there's actually a business here, is
Yep.
when I decided that I was no longer playing at running a business. I was actually going to focus on
Yep.
making money and growing the business and figuring out what steps I needed to take to get it to the next level. And that's when I hired a coach. So it's an interesting journey. So the first step, everyone who's watching, whether you're watching live or on replay, is just acknowledging what is it for you. Are you willing to put in the work to run a business? Or are you just enjoying yourself and having a side gig that makes you a little bit of extra money here and there? That's okay too. But the first step is admitting what it is for you, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right. So that's our Wisdom Wednesday. Everyone go have a great Wednesday and rest of the week. And Teresa and I will see you next week, I believe. I think we're on for next week.
Yeah, we're all set.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Teresa.
Bye.